Hi, RABC followers. My name is Michelle Andrushak, and I am your favorite business coach in Central Alberta. And I am here with one of my favorite mentors and inspirational leaders, Whitbread. I almost said Whitman. Whitbread from Joe Social Media. Some of you may know him as Joe Social Media. Some of you may know him as the amazing volunteer or the voice of the Red Deer Rebels. Some of you may know him as just the family guy. And in my world, I just have an enormous amount of respect for Joe as a businessman and as a man himself. And I promised Joe that we wouldn't have a cry session today. Joe, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and hello to your viewers and to your listeners today. I am so excited and humbled that you've invited me to be a part of this. I've watched many of your interviews in the past. You do such a great job at giving everyone who you put on camera or on microphone such due respect, and I am so humbled that you've invited me to do this today. Thank you.
Well, you're so welcome. I know that this is the Secrets of Business Success. I call it a podcast, a video cast, whatever cast you want to call it. The Secrets of Business Success by successful entrepreneurs. So, Joe, what made you want to start a business or even become an entrepreneur? What's the backstory of the life you're living right now?
Yeah, very. I think like all business owners or entrepreneurs or people in business that are trying to work their way up the ladder, I think the stories are all extremely unique, and mine is no different. I am very, very fortunate, and you'll hear me talk a number of times about a partnership. And my partnership, someone you've had on your program before, Joe Phillips and Joe Whitbread, are Joe Social Media. Obviously, we have a number of staff under us now as we've grown exponentially. But my entrepreneurial journey, frankly, doesn't exist. I don't get a kick in the butt. I'm a stubborn individual without my life partner and my business partner, Joe Phillips. So she is a serial entrepreneur, admittedly so. She has owned a number of successful businesses, some businesses that weren't successful. And she has learned all of the valuable lessons that were necessary to kick me in the butt, to use the skills, the skill set, and the professional advantage that I bring to this business and many others that I'm sure we'll talk about here today, to be an entrepreneur. I think it was always in me, Michelle. I mean, others have told me that. But I have to be honest, most entrepreneurs, many of those listening or watching here today would say, yeah, no, I've always been an entrepreneur. I always wanted to work for myself and drive my own fleet or ship. The truth is I didn't want to always do it, or at least I didn't know that I wanted to. I needed someone like Joe, and there were others in my life as well, who drove me to make entrepreneurial decisions. And once I did, and once I got the taste of working for myself, driving a business with our rules, our regulation, and frankly, 100% commission, not 15, then I knew that this was, certainly a place for me. But I have to be honest, I was stubborn, very, very stubborn. Those that know me well watching this would know that, and I needed a kick in the pants.
Well, I think we all at some time, whether you are a born to be an entrepreneur or you're just stepping out in that very first leap of faith, having that kick in the pants alongside you or someone to tell you, yes, you can, is so valuable. So, I know Joe and I love her well, that she's the best person out there to kick you in the pants. She kicks me in the pants often too.
She sure does. Our partnership is really unique. We're the yin and the yang, without a doubt. The black and the white, the Oilers and the Flames. We are extremely different people, and because of that, we're extremely successful in all endeavors. We'll talk about a few of those today. Many are, attributes of Joe Social Media and the business that we've created, the industry we've really created, but it is a result of our strengths individually, individual humans who absolutely could. I don't want to give everyone the wrong impression. We're very individual in our job descriptions and in our business, but as a partnership, we're able to grow because what I'm missing, she has, and what she's missing, I have. And so that is a luxury, we admit. Not every entrepreneur, not the ones listening or watching right now, who are in the trenches all by themselves, have that luxury. But it is a luxury, and I can honestly say it's an attribute of our success.
That is amazing. I know when I coach my clients, my mission is to have them fill those gaps, like you said, that yin and that yang, to identify the gaps where need to be filled by either outsourcing or teamwork or building a team. So eventually they can sit where you and Joe are sitting as CEOs of your business versus what I call COEs, or chief of everything, and hit that burnout factor. And so, surrounding yourself by a great team, so important.
Yeah, it is. And I'll probably use the word luxury a lot. We understand, many listening are going, well, yeah, sure, that'd be fantastic. I wish I didn't have to do that or this, or, I hate the accounting part or the business part or the invoicing part of my business. I wish I didn't have to, but I don't have the luxury of a partner who does that, or the luxury of enough income right now, a month or even a year, to hire someone to do the books or potentially do the creative side or the marketing side of business, which is sometimes a miss for many people who don't have that part in their skill set. We do have a luxury. We have built that, though, together and apart. We have worked individually to drive the two branches of our business, and they come together just beautifully in unison. And I think it doesn't matter that we're in a creative industry like social media or marketing. I believe that same philosophy can work and does work when it's all, it's a perfect little dance and it's all harmonious. And when it works really well. And it hasn't always worked. There are days and weeks and months that it doesn't work, but that's business. There has to be an understanding that the ebbs and flows of life are also represented in the ebbs and flows of business. We've had scares, we've had opportunities missed, just as we've had incredible successful opportunities nabbed, and so on and so forth. So we've had some success as a result of this partnership.
Fantastic. So, Joe, you wear so many hats. Dad, life partner, business partner. You have a huge volunteer capacity, which blows my mind, and just a love for life. And I see you on social media all the time. So, could you share with the people viewing this segment, who is Joe Whitbread?
Wow, such a broad question, but
Yeah.
I'm really proud of Joe. I had a conversation with my daughter. I'm speaking to myself. I had a conversation with my daughter, and thank you for recognizing that first. You'll notice in all my bios, whether you're on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, you'll notice that the first profession you'll always see me talk about is the fact that I'm a father. And that's not by accident. It is the most difficult, and whether it's a mom watching this or a dad watching this, please understand that I understand how hard that segment of your life is. If we were to divide our life up into 100 percentage points, the fatherhood or the motherhood aspect, especially if you're doing it solo, would certainly be 50 to 75, if not 80% of your life. That only leaves a tiny piece of your cup to fill up, to recognize for the rest, whether that's the volunteerism, as you mentioned, or working. So that's number one. And I'm glad you mentioned it. I had a conversation with my daughter recently, and she asked me, she was nervous about taking on a new role. And I explained to her that I actually pep talk myself separately a number of times. I will tell all of you secretly, but it's no longer a secret that I talk to myself. When I'm alone in my vehicle, when I'm alone in my office, I talk to myself out loud, and I'm a different person. I'm almost a separate or parallel personality, and I'm not crazy. I do this in full consciousness, but the person who talks to me is stronger. He's more confident. He has developed a way better sense of it's okay, you can do this, than the real me, the one that's sitting in front of you. So this person, this other entity that I have in my life, who is me, who is my conscience, I guess, pep talks me all the time. And so I told my daughter this, and she said, that actually makes a lot of sense. And so she's now started to do that as well. She started to, so when you have those feelings of, I can't do this, people are going to laugh at me, I don't feel confident in this situation, I'm not going to get the job, whatever it is, that other person steps in and says, yes, you are. Get out of bed, get downstairs, get out the door, do this, do that. And so you see me all the time, on stage. I'm MC, I'm a professional MC, a professional announcer. I do all of those things, have for 25, 30 years. I've been doing that since I was 11 years old, frankly. And so I still get nervous on stage. I still get nervous in front of people. People ask me that all the time. Do you get nervous? Of course I get nervous. There's a lot of people out there. It's easier when they're strangers, frankly, because if they're strangers, then I don't have as many nerves. If I see people I know in the crowd digesting the information that I'm giving them, well, then I feel judged like anyone else would. Same way you felt in middle school when you or high school when you walked down the halls and didn't think your hair or your clothing was good enough to meet up. Maybe you didn't feel that way, but I certainly had some self-esteem.
Oh yeah, I think everyone who's ever gone through high school or middle school, has felt the what I call a duck, the I'm not good enough duck, or I don't fit in duck.
Absolutely, and we have to shut the duck up, as you
That's
always
right.
say.
Oh, I lost you. Oh, there we are. We lost you just for a millisecond.
No problem. So yeah, we do have to shut the duck up, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I do that with this conscience, this voice, and he talks to me a lot, and he's able to tell me, he's always very positive. He sometimes he's a little mean to me, which is okay, because sometimes I need that kick in the pants. But he pushes me forward. So yes, I do volunteer, as much as I can. I don't have a lot of extra hours with this work and the work I do with the Rebels during the hockey season, but I believe that is one of the secrets to success. And I know that's one of the prerogatives of this interview, is to find out, what secrets do you have towards, gaining the success or the momentum in business. And honestly, if I can tell you anything else, and if you remember nothing else, remember that you have to get yourself out there. Networking is everything. And luckily now, today, we have the ability to network exponentially because of things like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You do need training, and you do need an execution or an activation ability. You need a social media policy for yourself so that you can listen to that voice and broadcast the right messages to your audience. But that is what this is about. People ask me how you got so successful, which I am humbled by, and that's wonderful to know that they think I'm successful and I feel successful. But it's because I know a lot of people. I've had a really great opportunity to meet a lot of people, whether in person or through stranger conversations on social media channels, which has changed the way we do business, frankly. That networking room or wine and cheese gathering that you're invited to, you can only go to so many physically, and if you're a parent. But social media allows us, in little snippets of 3 minutes, 5 minutes at a time, the ability to visit, to chat, to develop relationships, not to sell, but to develop relationships that can be lasting in business.
Absolutely. So that's a fantastic segue for you to tell me all about Joe's social media.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Joe Social Media is essentially a social media agency, which may be foreign to many because it's so brand new. We've forged an industry here. Joe and I had the idea many years ago. Honestly, Joe, as I said earlier, pushed me to really develop this idea, or have the courage and confidence to do it. But we recognized a long time ago that social media, like any other advertising or marketing element of a business, was going to be a complex world for people specifically that don't have marketing. And it's extremely complex. All you need to do is go into the back end of your Facebook and realize that the Facebook that you like your mom's cat with, or your niece's wedding, that's not the Facebook that drives business. That's personal Facebook. So business on social media is extremely complex. You have to do the right things at the right times for the right people. You can't just talk to the people that love you. Your mom's likes are nice and everything on your business account, but you really have to go outside of your audience. And so business is complex. So we developed a social media agency that allows everything from training to actual management of social media accounts for big, medium, and small business. And we established it in 2012. We knew what we were doing, but we had to convince, which was unfortunate. So we decided early on that we weren't in the business of convincing. If you don't believe that Twitter can help change your business, or if you don't believe that Instagram or Facebook are going to develop an audience far beyond your family and your friends, then we aren't here to sell it to you. You have to understand that this is valuable in business, no different than the cash register or the telephone. They are valuable for business, and at some point you have to realize, if you're in a retail location, that you probably need a cash machine or a debit machine or tap, because that's the way business is going. And social media is the exact same thing. Believe it or not, Michelle, there are businesses right now, big businesses, national and major brands, that still haven't grasped the fact that they need a cash machine or a tap machine. And I'm not speaking literally, I mean figuratively. They have not yet realized that Instagram or Twitter or having a LinkedIn persona for your CEO is necessary, not an additive, but necessary in business.
Wow, that really blows my mind, because there are people that I follow that I follow primarily on social media. They have built $1 million business time and time again, just using Facebook ads, for example, and doing Facebook Live videos and allowing people to, I stand on my soapbox, and I know you're there with me, Joe, when I say that people do business with people they know, like, and trust. But you have to rewind as a business owner, or even an individual, if you want to take a stage or become a public speaker or anything like that, and ask yourself the question, how are you allowing people to get to know you?
Yeah, and this you're so right. You're bang on, and I know you do understand this, and your business as a result, and the people that you represent have success as well. And we could easily flip this conversation. This is hard. That's the thing, and I do not take for granted the fact that, yes, I'm a public speaker. I know how to get onto a stage. I've talked about how the nerves still come, but I'm able to talk in front of thousands. So I understand, and I completely accept the fact that some of your viewers would go, I can't even record my own voicemail. I hate the sound of my own voice, let alone speaking at a wedding or a public event. So I do understand that this is a skill set, and I also want to value that skill set. A lot of times you'll interview people like me and my business partner, Joe, and you'll find out, all of these things about what made us successful. But I don't want to devalue the fact that we are good at what we do, just as you are. And you do need skills. Many of you watching are good at what you do as well. And I don't have those skills. And that's why that partnership component that we talked about earlier is very important. We have to be able to fill in the gaps of what we're good at. But you're absolutely right, Michelle, the ability right now to show people who you are, to expose yourself, so to speak, using the social media channels on a professional or even a personal level, or a mixture of the two, really allows us to create a relationship. And that hasn't changed. It drives me absolutely insane when people think that business has changed. And I understand how it looks like it has. We have devices everywhere, multi-screens, and so many different elements of digital globalization. And yes, that part of business has changed. I'd be remiss if I didn't say so. But business has never changed. The butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker in 1893, who had shops on the boardwalk in your downtown gravel-roaded street, also networked. They also went to the dance or the saloon. They talked to each other. I decided that I needed my horses shoed by the blacksmith, and the blacksmith decided to buy pies from my wife's bakery. And this was social networking. This was Twitter, if you will. We told people about how great our service was at the blacksmith. We told the farmer next to us and the farmer down the road in 1893. We told people the same way. This was social networking. Obviously, it happened at a slower pace, but we created relationships with handshakes and by looking people in the eye. That is a man or a woman's word. And we have the exact same principle happening right now on social media. The difference obviously is we have a variety of noise happening by people that we don't necessarily trust because we've watched their lives unfold before us and we don't have that relationship. So when you do things like we're doing right now, having conversations, when you can hear the sound of my voice, you can see the conviction and the honesty, hopefully, and the integrity in my eyes and in yours, then we start to develop this relationship going, I think I can do business with this guy. It sounds like he is really someone that I like. Or some of your viewers might go, no, he looks sketchy. I think he's lying, and that's completely beside what I want to do business with. And that's how we do business every day. So you're absolutely right. The opportunity right now to activate your personal brand or persona in favor of business or opportunity has never changed. We're just able to do it exponentially.
Fantastic. Great advice. Networking. Do it old school, but use new technology.
Incredible.
Fantastic. But don't forget the old school networking. You know, going to the Chamber of Commerce event, showing up to your neighbors and shaking hands. Wow, for example, great place to network. So don't forget the rubbing shoulders online and offline. That's going to be a key to success.
Yeah, and another quick tip too is don't be afraid. A lot of people ask us, who should I connect with? You know, I don't know that person or this person. I see them all the time. I feel like I know them. The answer is that's who you need to connect with. Imagine yourself in a typical networking event. You go into a wine and cheese, perhaps a business luncheon, something of this sort, and you're going to see maybe 3 to 10 people that you know. Let's say the room has 100 people in it, so you know about 10% or less of the people. Your job, if you want to advance, is to find out who's important in the room. You don't have to meet all 100 people. Your job should be to try and find out, to glean information from the people you do know to the other people that they know, who is the most important people for your prerogative. If you want to meet everyone in the room, that's great. That makes you a good community citizen. It's okay to shake hands, kiss babies, and look people in the eye and give them their word. But we all know that we can waste a lot of time meeting the people that have no bearing on our business or our opportunity. So your diligence, your due diligence should be spent in those sorts of rooms and on LinkedIn and on Instagram and on Facebook with finding the people that are going to help you do business. That doesn't mean direct one-to-one business. That means someone who knows someone who knows someone. That's networking 101. Knowing that the butcher knows the candlestick maker who knows the baker allows me to make a new relationship with the baker because I had a candlestick made. And who doesn't love candlesticks? Am I right?
Who doesn't love candlesticks?
Am I right? So yeah, networking is funny. It's a word that's thrown out, but people don't really understand the simplicity of what networking is. It's understanding that your value is in knowing people who can help you sell. You're hiring salespeople everywhere without paying them a cent, except for, and this is what it does cost, trust and integrity, because your word is gold. And so it has to be done on an integral level. And that's the part that's often missed.
Awesome advice. Fantastic. This is why you are part of the Secrets of Business Success, Joe, because those golden nuggets, I know the viewers are going to pick those up and run with them. So speaking of success, what would you describe over your, say, 6 years of being with Joe Social Media? What has been your greatest success so far?
Our greatest success has to be, you could look at the accolades and the awards, and that's wonderful. We were very fortunate to be named Business of the Year in 2016. While that was a wonderful, humbling experience to be in a room full of people you admire, people who have been in business for many, many years, to win that at such an early time, 2016, we were only 4 years into our business. We won Red Deer's Business of the Year. It did a lot for our confidence. It did a lot for what we knew we were doing. But it also did a lot for our industry. Awards are great measures of success. We aren't all fortunate to work in an industry like Hollywood, where every year we get to be rewarded with Actor of the Year or Best Picture. We are fortunate in a business community where we can win things. But I want to be clear that awards and accolades are nice. I would say that our biggest success by far, besides the Business of the Year awards, which really launched us into business reputability, is our in-school respect and the respect we've received from educators, from education boards, from parent groups, and from police departments. And I'll explain a little bit if your reviewers don't know. Joe and I, we have a large team that works our social media business end now. So we represent businesses online using social media channels. We help train businesses, and our people are amazing trainers and public speakers. What Joe and I have always wanted to do, and now what we're succeeding in doing, is we're speaking in schools to anywhere from grade 3 to grade 12 and even early college years for this new generation of kids who get the really, rough end of the stick. They were handed these devices when they were growing up. They were told, yes, you can have a cell phone. Yes, you can text. They weren't told they can be on Instagram, but they've gotten on Instagram or on Snapchat. But there's no parental guidance. There's zero understanding, for the most part, from a parental unit, because guess what? None of us were 13 years old with an Instagram channel. None of us have ever taken a cyberbullying class in grade 7, because cyber was just a word that you might have heard on an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. There was no internet or computer. So what I'm most proud of in our business is the respect that we have achieved by being invited. We're invited everywhere. We were just in a small community called Delia yesterday. We will be up in Fort McMurray. We've been down to Cochrane and Calgary and Edmonton, and of course many central Alberta communities. We're invited into middle schools and high schools and with the parent groups to speak about social media safety, digital citizenship, device etiquette, because it's not being taught. It's not even being talked about in most homes. And we can all admit that we are on our devices as much, if not more, than our preteens and teenagers, yet they're getting the rough end of the stick and being blamed for it. So that's my biggest, I'm so proud that the police departments are putting value in what we're talking about, and the warnings are being heeded, and we're having a new conversation about social media.
That is one of the things that sings to my heart, what Joe and you do for the sake of our kids. And you're absolutely right. I mean, as my kids, they're 19 and 21 right now, they started picking up cell phones. Well, we were a little bit slow on the uptake. We gave them cell phones when they turned 12. But, and then they went into their teen years, and we weren't educated as parents on what was really out there. And so the fact that you're doing this, viewers, if you have kids, and just go to your school and get Joe and Joe invited in, and they do it out of the kindness of their hearts to come and educate not only your kids, but you. And I think education has to start with the parents. Absolutely, we have to support our kids, because they've entered a world which we didn't even grow up in. It didn't exist. I mean, when my husband and I were dating, there was no internet. That's how old I am. So it's the get to your schools. And I'm begging you, get to your schools and talk to your principals and talk to your parent groups to get Joe and Joe in, because their reviews are absolutely phenomenal. So that, if you want to call that a shameless plug, just call it a shameless plug, but get out there and help support our kids.
Yeah, I think there's worse things to be. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. I want to be very clear, and you mentioned it. This is volunteer. When we go into schools, this is not money making for us. It's more important that we develop an empathetic society on social media, because we've all seen that social media nastiness happens in the comments section of YouTube or Facebook. That's adult driven. These kids today, you'd be amazed at the answers to the questions that are completely different than adults. They are empathetic. And so we believe there is a new realm of social media coming. It's the adults. It's you and me who need the behavior or the cyberbullying components. We need to know that, because when we're warning our kids of that, they're just looking at us with a weird look on their face. They're not doing that stuff for the most part. And so our conversations in schools is really about having a conversation at home, because we come at social media from a parenting standpoint, which is obvious. When you teach a child to ride a bike, you're going to come at it from an adult perspective. But we were able to ride a bike at 5 years old or 3 years old, or however, whenever you started riding a bike. We have this tangible proof of what it feels like to fall off, so we can teach it with tangible proof. We can't teach social media with tangible proof. We can say don't, and you can't, and you shouldn't, but that's not helping our kids develop this self-esteem and this positive energy, and that's going to be necessary for them to achieve success, because we weren't 8 years old on Instagram.
Absolutely. So speaking of all the changes that are happening both personally and professionally online, this is an industry that it doesn't change, every 5 years or every 2 years. This is an industry that changes minute by minute. All of a sudden you open up your Facebook business page and, oh, look, there's a new premiere button for videos. How do you keep up with all the changes in the industry, and how does it affect your business?
What a great question. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of industries that have flourished for decades because nothing much changes. And that's no disrespect to any of the industries or the jobs, but for the most part, we do the same thing in the industry and we develop sales as a result. Social media changes literally every day. We were in a training recently, and we were speaking about Facebook. We opened up one of the internal pages, and it had changed in the middle of a training. So in cases like that, obviously you figure it out. It worked similarly, so we weren't handicapped by it. But it does literally change every day. In fact, when we started our business in 2012, we were predominantly using LinkedIn, Facebook, which was a totally different Facebook at the time. You can imagine how much it's changed in 6 years, and Twitter. Instagram existed, but it was a kids platform. It was photos, and it was very, very small user group, so to speak. Snapchat didn't exist at all. And so we stuck our heads out, far in 2012 to say, you know what, we're going to do social media based on these three main platforms. YouTube was there and others as well, but none were being used to a business execution. Now, every social media platform has business elements that allow you to purchase or ad target, that allow you to infiltrate timelines that you wouldn't normally be in, every single one of them. So you're absolutely right. It's a great question. How do we achieve that? And the answer is, honestly, we hire people and put them in roles so that they are managing the constant learning. And that's probably not different than many of the industries that the people that are watching have been in the past. Things change. You have to be recertified for many different positions. If you climb the corporate ladder, you have to learn different management or execution skills within business. The same thing here. We're just learning how Facebook changed overnight, or what Instagram's new motives are with stories, how stories are going to Facebook, and how that's going to change potentially. There is a lot of fleet of foot as well. In other words, we're trying desperately to predict, as everyone is. There's forecasters in every business. We forecast as well. We try our best to predict where things are going. Most times we get it right. Sometimes we get it wrong, and we adjust our plan accordingly.
Awesome. So speaking of forecasting, there are a ton of new social media platforms hitting the stage right now. The big ones, of course, Facebook being the largest, and I guess the granddaddy of really social media now.
Indeed.
There are a ton more new ones that are real up and comers that are starting to get people's attention. I know some of my clients are saying, "Hey, I noticed this one. It's on my kid's iPad. Like, should I be advertising on that?" So when it comes to, the small business owner who is doing the DIY social media, where should they be spending their time, their money, and their energy on to build their business?
Yeah, also a great question. Really be careful of following the leader. We have a society, specifically in business, where the competitive urge is so, there's the fire in your belly is so incredible that you feel like your competitor, or you saw someone do something, so you feel like you should jump on and do that as well. Keep in mind that every time something is added, nothing is falling off. So all of these businesses, I drive around and see plumbing or trades trucks that have 5 different icons on the back tailgate of their truck. We're on Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The answer is no, you're not, because we're a social media agency, and we can only run so many social media accounts proficiently in order to succeed. The answer to your question in simplest terms is, where should you be? Likely, and without going into audits of all of the viewers, Facebook. Facebook is likely where you're seeing a lot of these social media accounts. Instagram is owned by Facebook. Facebook has third-party relationships all over the internet that allows you to put your advertising, your social selling, not your ads, the old-fashioned way, traditional posters. Those are not working. People skip, they fast forward, they don't want. What we are talking about is social selling, but Facebook allows you to target your audience, pinpoint accurately target people, because we've liked things for the last 13 years, so they know what we like, and you can pinpoint accurately target. But the moment you start going down this rabbit hole of, I think this new social channel, Vero, is going to be a thing. Vero, I'm gonna invest into Vero or Visco. Just stop. If you've mastered Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and you have a consistent and creative image on LinkedIn that we see all the time, and your YouTube channel is got 300,000 viewers and subscriptions, and you're getting paychecks from Google every week, yes, maybe now you can invest in Vero. But I would put that in the hands of your 87th employee, because that's how many you're going to need if you think you can manage even 4 or 5 of them. So it is important to be in the places that you have the ability to manage. It is not important to follow the leader. Just because someone says something's coming doesn't mean you have to be there. Understand where your audience is. Put yourself in a great ability to promote and to use progressive public relations on 1 or more channels, but you can only do what you can do. It's about 7 hours a week per platform. So start adding that up. 3 platforms, that's 21 extra hours a week. 4 platforms, you're at 28 extra hours a week. And that's to do it well, Michelle. That's to target and to add. And of course, now there's budgets and you have to spend money on some. And so just be careful. Don't follow the leader. Do what you do and do it really well. And like you have, Michelle, you develop an audience, and that audience trusts you, and then they become the blacksmith, the candlestick maker, and the baker.
Absolutely. Work all levels of, I would say, Danielle Cruz's engagement funnel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Work on the people who are your fans, your customers, and stop trying to impress strangers that'll never buy from you.
Exactly. Great advice, Joe. So, Joe, we talked about your successes and how you have expanded and built a team. Not only are you serving in Alberta now, you've expanded into BC, which is amazing. Here's the big but in my question. Would you share with us one of your business struggles and that you've experienced in the last 6 years, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I would argue that our business has had a number of struggles over the years. We have had a major issue with the industry itself. So this is a constant struggle for us, but this industry is filled and just rife with social media experts and ninjas and rock stars and people who go down to their Starbucks. They take the Wi-Fi for 2 hours between classes, or steal some time from the boss to write content for people. Social media feels like it can be done by anyone, and I understand why. Marketing degrees, communication degrees, major courses taken in university. This one doesn't have one yet. And part of the reason is because what we talked about before in the factors of reputability and the fact that social media requires this constant learning, and it's ever changing. I don't know how the U of C, U of A, UBC is ever going to teach a social media course from a textbook when Snapchat or Instagram changed last night. That's going to be very difficult. However, there are social psychology courses. You've taken many. You even give some that allow us to understand the psyche of a social media user. That part is the biggest struggle for us, because when a 47-year-old owner of a business for years who has put his ad in a newspaper and the telephone book is told that he now needs or she needs to be on the computer, on Facebook, using these various, it's all foreign language. completely foreign language unless you have an understanding of why people are using it. It doesn't matter how to use Facebook if you don't understand why people are using it and their psyche when they're online at 8 p.m. versus 8 a.m. or on a Sunday afternoon versus a Tuesday morning. There's a very different philosophy that goes into why you should post, how you should post, and how you can engage. And I'm sure many of your viewers and listeners have found that out. That is the single hardest struggle of our business, is explaining to an old school or a traditional advertiser the new necessity, not the additive or the hope, but the new necessity to have your business social, because you are being talked about, regardless of whether you think you are or not. We will always take pictures of our salads. I don't know why, but we will. And we will talk about your restaurant. And if you are there, you have much better opportunity at achieving that retention or that fanness, that celebrity fan part of your business than if you're not there. And so that's a really difficult thing to explain. So the hardest struggle for us is to constantly elevate the industry. You'll notice, and you do this as well, really well. You'll notice we always dress well, or we feel like we do anyway. You'll always notice that Joe and I are represented as professionals in an industry. I don't mind telling you, I was born in 1975. The internet didn't exist until I was about 25 years old. 27 years old, maybe. I got my first cell phone at 30 years old. So I'm a late adapter on, not by accident, on purpose, because it didn't exist. But I've developed all of this, and so has Joe, in our latter years, which is important because in our adult years and after we became parents, we have a much better understanding of that empathetic necessity needed for social media. And that's no slight to anyone who doesn't have kids, but I think when you become a parent, or if you've got a pet that you really, really, really love, you understand selflessness as opposed to selfishness. And it's no slight, again, to anyone who doesn't have it, but there's that necessity to elevate our industry, and really let people know that this is about business. It's not about likes. All the fun stuff, the filters you can put on your faces and all of that, it's all necessary, or maybe not necessary depending on the business you're in, but it is about one thing, and that is achieving business results. And so that struggle has been real. Every day we feel like we're trying to convince people, and as I told you earlier, we do not convince. If you don't think this is important, we can't work with you. The moment you value it and you think it's important and you need help, then we can help you.
Absolutely. I think that once people self-identify a need, and that could come from the pain of just being overwhelmed by having to do all this social media stuff yourself. I know, as I dabble in social media myself, not professionally, but for my business, and the time it takes to learn, and I'm constantly learning. And you get to that point where I think I'm getting too old for this, Joe.
I get that all the time too. But then I'm reminded that the entire time I've been in business, professional, if you will, since 18 or whenever you start your first, second, third job, whatever it is, we have to learn. There was a time when we had this might date me to your viewers, but I had a normal non-digital telephone. I didn't have to learn about the buttons or the lights or programming someone's direct dial. That didn't exist. You dialed every number 7 digits at a time, and that's how we got through. And then at some point, someone put a phone, it was digital, it had multiple buttons. I could program it so that I could only dial 3 numbers, or I just pressed one button and it got me to somewhere. That was a digital learning that had to happen, and it happened, and then we moved on. Checking voicemails, checking emails, the email revolution, going to websites. There was so much expansive knowledge. So this, again, I always go back to, this hasn't changed. Social media is a new additive to business, but it's a necessity. Just like the telephone change was a necessity, just like a flat screen television from a tube television is now a necessity. Your tube television and rabbit ears don't work anymore. It's a necessity that we have to go down. So it doesn't matter if you're 15 or 50, now you have to do this new learning if you want success. And the entire reason for interviews like this for you and for your guests is because apparently there's success. And if you want the truth on success, it's to suck it up and learn it.
Suck it up and learn it. I love it. Sometimes you have to #do it anyway.
You just do. And trust me, folks, trust me, this sucks sometimes. I don't want to learn it. I don't want to learn Snapchat. I have no interest in Snapchat, but I had to learn Snapchat. A, because I'm a parent and my kids are there. That's the most important part. And B, because I'm in social media. And when you're in social media, you should probably know how Snapchat works. So I have Snapchat. And it doesn't mean I use it all the time, but I absolutely know how it works. I know how what my kids are doing there, and I know some of the benefits to Snap Maps and these other things that are happening. So yeah, you have to suck it up sometimes and just learn it.
Awesome. So when you're talking about marketing, and I know you're really focused on online marketing and platforms, what is your best, apart from networking, we've talked about that, what is your best offline marketing tip?
Offline, yeah. In marketing, I think it's to partner with someone who fills your gaps. I mentioned that earlier. You aren't going to be good at everything. So I'll give you an example. If you are just not someone who likes to put yourself on camera, like Michelle and I are, if you've been on the internet for any period of time, you've seen Michelle. You've seen my business partner, Joe. You've seen other people in the community. The reason you've seen them and the reason they elevate in your recognition category, other than your neighbor or the person across the street, is because you see us. If you're not one of those people that's good at that, you have to find someone who can help you be good at that. And sometimes that means you have to hand your phone over and say, take my picture. And this sounds really weird to some people, and I get it. I understand the idea that they think, I've heard everything from conceited to narcissism to, there's a whole bunch of different categories, and none are true. We live in a world where television commercials show you products and you go out and you buy them. You, potentially in your business, are the product, especially if you're in an individual service industry like mortgage professionals or realty or wealth management. Though you are the product, you're the television commercial. And if you right now aren't showing what you do, and I don't mean the professional photo you had taken for your LinkedIn or the nice dress or the nice suit you wore to someone's wedding and someone snapped a photo by a tree. I'm not talking once, I'm talking all the time. Your personal brand is on display through this networking, no different than if you walked into that example I gave earlier of the cocktail party with 100 people. You wouldn't walk in with a box or a bag over your head. You would walk in and display yourself, what you're wearing, how your hair is done, your makeup, and other elements would be on display. And so you would put your best foot forward. We have to do that on our social channels as well. So I know it's an offline question, and certainly offline we have to have this persona. And my advice on the offline component is to find someone you trust who can help cover your story. Your story has to be on display, and that's very hard to do unless you have very long arms, because no one wants to see a selfie of you all the time. So I guess my marketing advice for you, specifically if you're in a service industry or an individual role, but absolutely it pertains to anyone who's an ownership, management, entrepreneur, is turn the camera around. Even if you have to set it up yourself, take pictures, take video of yourself doing what you do. Because when we're doing what we do, we can't take our own picture. You see all the pictures of people mostly posing, stopping and posing because we're not doing anything. So we take a picture of ourselves. It's important that if you're presenting to someone, if you're making what you make, if you're weaving what you weave or knitting what you knit, that the camera takes a picture of us seeing you do that. Because if your message is, I knit things, I weave things, we have to at some point see that you do that. So my advice to you is to find a spouse, your husband or your wife, your kids. My kids take my picture all the time. They understand that they are a value part of my marketing. So they take my picture when I'm doing the things I do. I have a number of people in the community, when they see me at an event, they will take my photo, they'll text it to me. They won't social media it, they'll take my picture on stage presenting, and they will text it to me. I do the same of them. When I see them in the community doing what they do, I will take their picture and text it to them. We have a mutual understanding that we share those pictures. I don't need to tag or let them know where the picture came from. They are on my marketing team and I'm on theirs. So that's my best advice for you. Offline is to make allegiances with people that you trust who will help you broadcast you, because you can't broadcast you all the time.
Oh, I love that. I love that, that collaboration, that I'll help you, you help me, and like you said, allegiances, that everybody moves forward together.
Yeah, it's incredible how it works. I'll get a picture. I'll be sitting at in Calgary at a Flames game, and somebody will take a photo. They saw me, and they're always nice. I have the ability then to purge them. If I don't like them, I won't post them. But someone will take a picture of me at a game or something, and I'll get a text, and I know who it is. I trust them. They took it. I know that I don't have to post about them. It's not about them. They were helping me market myself potentially at that game or hosting this event or emceeing that event. A lot of our school speaking will get teachers that send photos and these sorts of things. So and I do the exact same thing. I have a friend who does the camera work at that Flames game, and he's always behind the camera, quite literally. He's the television camera operator for Sportsnet. I'll take his picture every time I go to a game so that people can see that he's a camera guy at the Flames game, because who's going to take his picture? He can't. And he uses them all the time. So that's just one of many, many examples of people that I help in the community and that help me in the community in that social networking to make sure that our marketing is always on point.
Fantastic. Joe, women especially talk a lot about, I guess, that mythical unicorn that we always chase after, or the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that we lovingly or sarcastically lovingly say it's work-life balance. And with everything you do, every ball you have juggling in the air, how do you achieve, or is it achievable, work-life balance as an entrepreneur?
I think it is achievable. I was most nervous for this question. Of all your questions, this is probably the one I struggle with most. Obviously, my schedule is full, but that's an excuse. Work-life balance is extremely difficult. I am proud to say that I was an involved father. My kids my youngest is in grade 12 now, so you're only involved as much as they want you to be involved now. But I've got 3 stepkids as well. You really have to juggle. No different than a clown or a circus performer would have to learn how to juggle 4 or 5 balls, because 3 is just not fun anymore. You have to learn to juggle. I was nervous for this question because I don't know that I do it as well as I could. I'm proud to say I was an involved father. I have a great relationship with all of my kids that I strive for, and I really have efforted towards. And while I've done that, I've done amazing things in business, in personal and achievements. So I've obviously done it. I don't know how to answer it except to say that the things that I do, I love. And so and that's a luxury. But when I go to work, the work part of the work-life balance, I go to do things I love. And that helps when you're an entrepreneur, because when you're an entrepreneur, hopefully you've decided to go into something that you at least love to do, or you love the business aspect, or you love the rewards that come from it. So my only advice is, if you have work-life balance issues that involve travel or going away, or balancing that balancing act of making sure there's supper on the table and you're having family dinners, if you have those issues, make sure at least that the work you're doing when you go away is something you also love, because when you come back, your mood, your mannerisms, and what you're passing along specifically to family, to spouses, and to kids will be much better than if you hate your job. So I think the protection in my work-life balance, and the reason I was able to do it, is because when I had to go to work, and subsequently when I had to come home from the work, I love what I do what I love, and I don't work for money. That's my personal mantra. Do what you love what you do, and don't work for money. It's the moment you start chasing the dollar, when you chase the dollar, then there's all kinds of negative mental health implications. When the dollar chases you, that's wonderful. And honestly, everything I've ever done, I haven't worked for the money. I need money. I require money to make sure that my family is safe and healthy, and I can live a life that I strive for, but I don't chase money. Money follows me. And that's a personal mantra of mine. And it's because I do what I love, and I love what I do. And that's a luxury, and I recognize that.
That is fantastic. Do what you love what you do, and let the money chase you. Don't chase the money.
Absolutely. Don't chase the money. And I know that sounds weird. I get it. We've been taught our entire lives through business, through kids, go get money, go make money, earn more money. Obviously, you have to go and you have to make money if you want the things that you have, but don't strive for the money, because I promise, try it. And I've heard this in the dating circles as well. I don't have to date anymore, thankfully. I have a wonderful spouse who loves me. But I've heard in the dating, the moment you're trying to chase that special someone, you'll never find them. The moment you stop, smell the roses, do what you do, and be you, they'll find you. And so think of your loved one in the dating circles, the one that's out there. If you're not in a relationship, like the money, stop chasing it. I promise it works. I don't know how, but it works. This moment you stop chasing it, enjoy what you do, love what you do it really well, be passionate, have fire in your belly. The money will find you. It'll chase you because it rewards people who don't chase it.
I love that. I really, really do. There are so many things that in our conversation today that I needed to hear as well. So I thank you for the golden nuggets. And as we wrap up, I have one final question, which is a big one. For anybody who is about to take that leap of faith to either go from an employee to an entrepreneur, or anyone who is, has this idea percolating in their head saying, oh, I think I'd like to be my own boss, or I'd like to start my own business. What is one of those pieces of advice that you might have to someone who's just thinking about it or is about to take the leap? How do they ride this roller coaster ride?
Yeah, it's not an individual decision, is my advice. We make these decisions individually, and oftentimes, the stats will tell you that many failures in business come within the first, second, third year. And it was because of one key element, and that is we chased what we had passion for, which obviously I've just said, you got to have passion and love what you do. The problem is your new business, your new entrepreneurial endeavor isn't based on the idea. It isn't based on the invention. It isn't based on your logo that you thought was creative or the name you thought was creative. Those are all wonderful parts of growing a business. My advice is to bring others that you trust, that you love, and others who you have nothing to do with, because your family's always going to tell you, what they want you to hear, and they're going to be loving. You need to bring in people like Michelle, people like me. My business partner, Joe, is incredible when it comes to building businesses. And if she's a stranger to you, she's perfect for you, because what you need to do is you need to bring in other people that find the cracks in your idea. And that's scary. That's very scary, because the truth is, none of us want anyone to find the cracks in our idea. We want you to love it. Don't you think my name is cool? I did a play on words. It's a brilliant pun. It's funny. It'll be a great sign. And I'm going to buy a neon, and we're going to have amazing furniture in the waiting room. And it's going to be hold on. Who's going to be paying the bills? Who's doing invoicing? Who's in charge of sales meetings? All of the things that maybe you didn't think about, or maybe you thought of those things and you didn't think of all the first stuff that I was, joking about. You didn't think of logos and names and creativeness and building. You need a business plan, and you need someone outside of your voice to help you find the cracks. So I guess my advice before you jump is to line up all the I's and then have someone come across and dot them. And if you have any I's that aren't dotted, you're not ready to jump at the same time. And if anyone has kids, you can understand this. Sometimes you're just not ready for kids. And sometimes you just have to jump off that cliff. Sometimes you're not ready to make that change, and you just have to jump off the cliff. There are a lot of people dabbling in things that are their true passion, the things they love, and they would know they would love what they do. And sometimes you just need someone, like I had Joe, to help push me. But I had that parachute. I had that protection. I had her life experience, her entrepreneurial experience, and I'm so fortunate for it. But I would line up all your I's, dot as many as you can. When you've got 75 or 80% dotted, it's time to jump. If you've only got 2 dotted I's in that entire lineup, it's not time to jump. And you need people like Michelle to help you dot those I's, because you're brilliant at it.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate that. I do. So as we wrap up today, and this is the final question, out of being an entrepreneur, what has brought you the most joy?
What is the most joy?
Yeah, what's brought you the most joy from being an entrepreneur?
Flexibility.
Yeah.
I think it's the obvious answer. I mean, I adore working with my spouse. We go at it sometimes. We butt heads, but that's what makes us really, successfully and driven entrepreneurs. The truth is in the flexibility. We have now we've hired a full team, so we have a lot of flexibility, or a lot more flexibility. Prior to that, we were two entrepreneurs. We had to work. When we weren't working, we weren't making money. So flexibility does come at a cost. It's not like this, we can go on holidays 6 times a year and just take Monday mornings off, but we do have flexibility. We have the ability to that's what brings me joy. We get to pick the furniture in our office. We get to pick the kind of coffee we want in the coffee maker. We get to pick taking a Monday snowy morning off if necessary and working on our couch. The flexibility is that's that work-life balance part that has to happen. I'm really bad at it, frankly. I work in my office way too much because I like what I do. So and I have a creative space that's safe for me. But yeah, I think that's definitely the part that brings me the most joy in business.
Wow. Well, Joe, I know that you have brought a lot of joy to our viewers today. You've brought a lot to me, and I so appreciate the last hour of your time. And so to our viewers, check out Joe's social media. And if you go to the Red Deer Rebels game and you see Joe, I'm sure you could walk by and give him a high five or a hug. He's that kind of guy. And so check out Joe's social media online. They have a website. They have, well, as a social media company, you're everywhere, Joe.
You can find us everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere. And not only do they, like Joe said, social media management for your business, they have some great training opportunities too. So sign up for their workshops and training opportunities and get them into your schools. Because I really hear the heart of Joe and Joe when they really say that they care for the kids. So, and if you like this, if you found this inspirational, if you found this podcast educational, then check out the other podcasts that are posted on the rabcrocky.com webinar central, including Joe's partner of Joe's social media, Joe Phillips. She has the most amazing, oh my gosh, the most amazing interview that is so inspirational.
Her story is worth looking into. If you want to learn more about the struggles, the real life, true struggles, no bells, no whistles, and coming out of the fire into success, watch Joe's interview. It's quite inspirational.
It is, and I know that people keep coming back to me and saying the same thing about you and Joe. So thank you for your time. What I am going to do is just put up the web link so people can see where they can find a whole bunch of inspirational business success podcasts, not only inspirational but educational, on rabcrocky.com/webinar central. There's a ton of educational webinars there you can download. Some are value pricing, thanks to some government funding, and others at the very bottom. Scroll to the very bottom, and I always believe that you can pay for education, but I never charge for inspiration. So there are about 8 inspirational stories of these business success stories, and Joe's will be loaded there as well. So Joe, thank you so much for your time today. I really, honestly, it's been such a pleasure. And we'll say adieu and continued success to you.
And to you. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, and much success to you and your viewers today. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye for now.